the heart of this nation, under skies so blue,
there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true.
from the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You know that feeling when a story you thought you understood, something really complex, suddenly gets a new layer revealed? Or maybe a document surfaces that just shifts the whole perspective. Well, today, that's exactly what we're getting into. We're talking about a recent, pretty significant declassification.
A really big one, potentially.
And we're here to basically unpack what these documents are claiming, what they allegedly reveal about, well, a really pivotal time in recent U.S. history.
That's right. Our focus today is the newly declassified Annex to the Durham report. Now, for anyone who's been trying to follow all the twists and turns of the alleged Russian collusion hoax,
It's been a lot.
it really has. This specific document could carry immense weight. The main Durham report, as you know, was that big investigation started by Attorney General Barr.
Right, looking into the FBI's handling of the Trump-Russia probe origins.
Exactly. And this Annex, which has only just surfaced, really, it has the potential to significantly reshape how we understand the very start of that whole narrative. It's not just another government file, apparently.
No, it sounds like more than that.
The way it's being presented is like a window into some deeply sensitive and, frankly, quite surprising allegations about what key figures in government and campaigns were doing, or maybe what they weren't doing.
That's the core of it. So our mission today, like always, is to walk through the source material we have. In this case, it's an article analyzing these declassified documents in detail.
A compelling one, yeah.
And we want to pull out the most important pieces, the key takeaways, and really help you, our listener, understand the alleged implications. What does this stuff mean for the 2016 election story and everything that followed?
And we're looking for those aha moments. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because some of the claims in here, based on the source, are definitely provocative. They make you stop and think.
And it's important, I think, to talk about how these documents even came out. The story of their discovery itself is pretty unusual.
Yeah, you mentioned that, how they resurfaced.
Exactly. And what that might suggest about, the actions of officials or political groups. It wasn't like they were just sitting in an archive waiting to be found.
So hidden or just misplaced.
Well, the source suggests they were obscured somehow, which right away makes you ask why. What was their intended fate? It sets a certain tone.
Okay. So for this deep dive, our main analysis comes from excerpts of an article by Matt Vespa titled, "There's a Reason Why the Durham Annex Was in Those FBI Burn Bags."
That title alone tells you something.
It certainly does. And just to be clear for everyone listening, our approach here is strictly impartial. We're not endorsing anything.
No sides taken.
Our goal is just to convey what the declassified documents allegedly say as interpreted and analyzed in this source material. We want to help you understand the claims being made, the evidence presented in the article. That's it.
Just laying out what the source puts forward.
Exactly. So let's start unpacking that first big piece. The declassification itself, the release of this Durham report Annex. What exactly is it, broadly speaking, and why is its emergence considered so important? Especially with that weird detail about how it was found.
Right. So the Annex itself is part of the larger Durham investigation into the FBI's Russia probe origins. It was declassified July 31st, 2025.
Okay, pretty recent then.
Very recent. But what makes it really striking, and what the Vespa article jumps on immediately, is how it was reportedly found.
The burn bag.
Yes. Apparently, it was discovered in FBI burn bags by Director Kash Patel. And crucially, it wasn't alone.
Oh, what else was there?
The source states that alongside this Annex, thousands of other documents were found, all relating to the Russian interference investigation, or maybe more accurately, relating to the alleged lack of a proper investigation by the Obama DOJ and FBI.
Thousands of documents in burn bags. That phrase burn bags, it's not just like a filing cabinet label, is it?
No, not at all. It conjures a very specific image, doesn't it?
It really does. It raises immediate questions. Why handle potentially critical materials that way?
Precisely. In government or intelligence circles, burn bags mean one thing: documents designated for destruction. Secure destruction, usually incineration, to prevent leaks or unauthorized access.
So, finding thousands of documents, including this Annex, about something as huge as election interference, finding them stored that way.
It strongly suggests, according to the source, an intent to conceal them, or at least keep them out of the official, easily searchable records.
That sounds serious, more than just sloppy paperwork.
Oh, absolutely. The implication is that it goes way beyond administrative error. It hints at a deliberate effort to manage the historical record, maybe even hide information.
Which, if true, is a massive challenge to transparency, right?
A profound one. It could fundamentally change how we understand that whole period. The questions just pop up. What was allegedly being hidden? And why? Why would someone want this stuff to just disappear?
So the discovery method itself is provocative. It suggests maybe a huge amount of unexamined information was almost lost.
That's the picture painted by the source, yes. A potentially vast trove of information that, for some reason, wasn't supposed to see the light of day.
Okay, so the sheer volume, thousands of documents, and finding them in burn bags, that sets a really unsettling stage. Given that context, what's the immediate, the most explosive revelation from this annex, according to the source? What's the first big thing it tells us?
The first major point the Matt Vespa article pulls out is this. The Obama-era FBI allegedly failed to investigate specific, credible intelligence.
Intelligence about what?
Intelligence indicating that the Clinton campaign was actively involved in, basically, cooking up and pushing the Trump-Russia collusion narrative.
Wow, okay, so the FBI knew about this possibility and didn't look into it.
That's the allegation. And when you see that alleged inaction combined with the burn bags discovery, well, the source presents it as the first major red flag.
Suggesting maybe a pattern of questionable behavior or deliberate oversight.
Exactly. That this declassified material is starting to expose something systemic. It's framed not just as facts, but as the start of a serious inquiry into how that whole narrative might have been manipulated from the start.
Okay, this is where, as you said, it gets really interesting. The source digs into a very specific alleged strategy by the Clinton campaign to smear Donald Trump with what the article claims were false accusations of Russian collusion. And it's presented not as just, political spin, but based on actual intelligence in the annex.
Right. The source argues this wasn't just speculation. The annex allegedly contains specific intelligence pointing directly to this plan.
Can you walk us through the core claims about this alleged plan? Who was involved? What was the goal?
Sure. The central allegation drawn from the annex, according to the article, is that Hillary Clinton herself reportedly signed off on the plan.
Signed off personally.
That's the claim. And the strategy was supposedly devised by her foreign policy advisor at the time, Julianne Smith.
Okay. And the purpose? Why do this?
The stated goal, according to the intelligence cited in the annex and highlighted by the source, was basically to create a distraction.
A distraction from what?
From Clinton's own growing email scandal during the 2016 campaign. You remember all the controversy about her using a private server while Secretary of State?
Of course. Handling classified information, security concerns. It was a huge issue.
A massive issue.
Mm-hmm.
The article contends this alleged plan, this smear, was cooked up specifically to divert public and media attention away from that problem. A strategic counteroffensive, essentially.
So a high-level move to change the subject, basically. What were the specific mechanics? How was this alleged plan supposed to actually work, according to the intelligence?
The plan, as the source describes it based on the intelligence, involved a couple of steps. First, raising the theme of Putin's support for Trump.
Okay, pushing that idea.
And then, crucially, subsequently, steering public opinion toward the notion that it needs to equate Putin's political influence campaign with the actual hacking of election infrastructure.
Ah, so blurring the lines between propaganda and direct cyber attacks on the vote.
Precisely. That distinction is key. A political influence campaign, think disinformation, social media bots, trying to sway opinion is bad, yes, but it's fundamentally different from someone breaking into voting machines or registration databases.
A difference in kind, not just degree.
Absolutely. And the alleged plan, as presented, was to deliberately conflate those two very different things in the public mind, to make the threat seem more direct, more existential to the election itself.
And is there specific evidence cited from the annex for this, like emails or memos?
The source says yes. It claims the annex contains authentic emails from July 2016.
Right in the heat of the campaign.
Exactly. Emails that allegedly discuss Clinton's plan to demonize Putin and Trump. And interestingly, these emails also supposedly included predictions.
Predictions? Like what?
Predictions that the FBI will put more oil into the fire.
Implying they expected the FBI to amplify the narrative or maybe even help.
It suggests at least an awareness, maybe an expectation, that official channels might pick it up and run with it. The article also states Clinton allegedly approved the specific idea about Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections.
So, putting all that together, the source paints a picture of a very deliberate, coordinated effort. Not just criticizing Trump, but allegedly fabricating a specific damaging story for political gain.
That's the core allegation derived from the Annex material, yes. Highly coordinated, intentional, and with specific political objectives.
It definitely sounds like more than just typical campaign mudslinging if these claims hold up. What specific intelligence did the Obama administration actually get that laid all this out? Where did this information even come from?
The article pinpoints two specific memoranda obtained by the Obama administration. One from January 2016, the other from March 2016.
Okay, so fairly early on.
Yes. And what's really notable about these memos, according to the source, is they reportedly described confidential conversations.
Between who?
Between the DNC chair at the time, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Okay, head of the Democratic Party organization.
Right. And two individuals from George Soros's Open Society Foundations, Leonard Bernardo and Jeffrey Goldstein. The intelligence outlining the alleged Clinton plan, specifically the smear using the Russian narrative, was detailed in that March 2016 memo.
That level of detail, naming names and organizations, suggests pretty specific intelligence gathering, doesn't it?
It does. It implies either an inside source or very effective signals intelligence, perhaps.
The alleged involvement here, the Clinton campaign, the DNC, a major foundation like Open Society that's quite a coalition. What does the article suggest about the potential scope of this operation if these claims are accurate?
Well, it suggests something much bigger and more complex than just a couple of campaign staffers brainstorming.
Right. Multi-layered thing.
Exactly. The alleged participation of these different groups points towards potentially significant coordination and resources being poured into developing and spreading this narrative.
It implies it wasn't just a casual idea, but maybe a well-thought-out strategy involving multiple influential players.
That's the implication. It raises big questions about the collaboration involved. And the source actually quotes specific language from that March 2016 memo. It says, "The Democratic Party's opposition is focused on discrediting Trump." Okay, standard enough. But then, among other things, the Clinton staff, with support from special services, is preparing scandalous revelations of business relations between Trump and the Russian mafia.
Whoa. Special services. That phrase definitely jumps out.
It does.
When the FBI analysts looked at this intelligence, who did they think special services might refer to? That seems crucial.
It's a really important question. According to the Durham Annex, as reported by the source, the FBI analysts who translated and reviewed this raw intelligence did speculate on that term.
What were the possibilities they considered?
They considered it could mean the FBI and the CIA, or maybe more broadly, the intelligence and law enforcement communities here in the U.S.
So, potentially U.S. agencies.
That was one possibility they considered. Another was that it might refer to Christopher Steele, the author of the dossier, given his later role.
Okay, but the fact that U.S. intelligence or law enforcement was even considered as potentially providing support for an alleged political smear campaign, that's explosive.
It's incredibly unsettling, isn't it? If there was even a suspicion internally that parts of the U.S. government machinery could be involved in something like this.
It totally undermines the idea of impartial institutions, especially during an election.
Absolutely. It suggests a potential blurring of lines between political actors and state power that is deeply concerning, if true. It challenges that fundamental trust we're supposed to have.
So this intelligence, these memos describing the alleged plot, wasn't just some low-level chatter. It was apparently known way up the chain.
That's a key point the source emphasizes, yes.
The details about who knew, when they knew, and critically how they responded, or allegedly didn't respond, that seems central here.
It is pivotal. The Vespa article highlights that after this intelligence came in, very senior U.S. officials were formally briefed.
How senior?
Extremely senior. There was a specific briefing on August 3rd, 2016, right in the White House.
In the Oval Office?
The briefing was in the White House, conducted by the CIA director at the time, John Brennan. And the attendees reportedly included President Obama himself, Vice President Joe Biden, DNI James Clapper, and FBI Director James Comey, among others.
Okay, so the absolute top leadership of the administration and the intelligence community were made aware of this specific intelligence about the alleged Clinton plan.
That's what the source, citing the Annex, claims. It establishes a very clear line of awareness right to the top.
After that high-level briefing, Did the CIA do anything formal with this information? Did they just note it down, or did they pass it on officially?
They did take a formal step. According to the source, the CIA sent the FBI an investigative referral.
What does that mean exactly?
An investigative referral isn't just like a casual heads up, it's a formal process. It means the CIA considered the intelligence significant and credible enough to warrant a full FBI investigation.
So the CIA officially flagged it for the FBI.
Yes, they formally transferred the information, including the details of the purported Clinton campaign plan, to the FBI, the main domestic investigative agency. It shows they took it seriously and believed it needed looking into.
Okay, and this is where, according to the article, we hit a really crucial point. The CIA, later in 2017, actually did a written assessment of this intelligence, right? To determine if it was real or maybe Russian disinformation.
Exactly. They assessed its authenticity and veracity.
What did they conclude? This seems like a make-or-break detail for the credibility of the whole thing.
It really does seem to be a linchpin.
Oh.
The CIA's 2017 assessment, according to the source citing the Annex, stated unequivocally
Yes.
that it did not assess that the above redacted memoranda or redacted hacked U.S. communications to be the product of Russian fabrications.
So let me get this straight. The CIA looked at it and decided it was not Russian disinformation. They thought it was credible.
That's precisely the claim. They believe the intelligence itself was authentic, not some Russian plot to mislead the U.S. And furthermore, the Durham Annex apparently notes the FBI knew this.
Knew what?
The Annex reportedly says the FBI was fully alerted to the possibility that at least some of the information it was receiving about the Trump campaign might have its origin either with the Clinton campaign or its supporters, or alternatively was the product of Russian disinformation.
Okay, so the FBI was aware the info could be politically motivated or Russian disinfo, but the CIA had assessed this specific intel about the Clinton plan as likely not Russian disinfo.
Correct. That's the picture the source paints based on the Annex.
This leads to a massive question then, and it seems to be the article's central point. If the CIA deemed this intelligence authentic and the FBI was formally referred, and the FBI was generally aware that anti-Trump info could be politically motivated, what did the FBI actually do about the specific alleged plot?
And here's the conclusion from the Durham Annex, heavily emphasized by the source. Despite this awareness, the FBI appears to have dismissed the intelligence information as not credible, without any investigative steps actually having been taken to either corroborate or disprove the allegations.
Wait, they dismissed it without even investigating it?
That's the reported finding in the Annex. Dismissed as not credible, but with no apparent investigative work done to actually determine if it was credible or not.
That seems inexplicable. If you get a formal referral from the CIA about a major political campaign, potentially fabricating a narrative, and the CIA thinks the intel is real, why wouldn't you investigate?
It's a profoundly challenging implication, isn't it? For anyone familiar with how these agencies are supposed to work, dismissing credible, formally referred intelligence like that, especially intelligence about potential interference in an election, it raises fundamental questions.
Questions about impartiality, about protocols, maybe outside pressure.
All of the above. Why dismiss it? Was it incompetence? Was it bias? Was it something else? The source presents this as a critical failure, a decision point where the FBI allegedly chose not to pursue a lead that went right to the heart of the political process and election integrity.
An alleged failure to investigate something potentially huge.
Or, as the source implies, perhaps something more deliberate than a failure, a choice not to look.
This alleged inaction, or dismissal without digging deeper, is clearly central to the article's claims about the Durham Annex. But the source suggests this wasn't maybe an isolated thing. Did the Annex shed light on other Obama administration actions? Specifically, what about the Clinton email server investigation that was happening around the same time?
Yes. The Vespa article connects these dots. It brings in information from another related document, a 2018 annex to the DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz's report.
Okay, so Horowitz looked into the FBI's handling of the email investigation, too.
He did. And the Durham Annex, according to our source, includes details suggesting that the same January 2016 memorandum, the one that first mentioned the alleged Trump smear plot,
Yes.
also apparently referenced President Obama's alleged intent to scuttle the FBI's investigation into Hillary Clinton's email server.
Obama personally wanted to shut down the email probe. That's what the memo allegedly said.
That's the claim based on the January 2016 memo cited in the Durham Annex. And the March 2016 memo, the one detailing the Trump-Russia plot, also reportedly referenced this alleged effort by Obama regarding the email server.
So the source is presenting these as parallel alleged interferences. One to create a narrative against Trump, the other to kill an investigation into Clinton.
It certainly suggests a pattern of alleged high-level influence or intervention viewed through the lens of these memos.
What does the source say James Comey's role was in the email investigation based on that 2018 Horowitz Annex?
According to the source's interpretation of the Horowitz Annex, Comey was allegedly doing everything he could to avoid a thorough investigation.
How so?
It alleges he rushed the process. And critically, it claims he was glossing over several thumb drives pertinent to the probe.
Glossing over thumb drives, what was on them?
That's the key. These weren't trivial items. They allegedly contained highly sensitive communications between Clinton, her campaign, the State Department, and the Obama White House.
So potentially crucial evidence for that investigation.
Absolutely. They should have been reviewed carefully to see if classified info was mishandled or if maybe foreign powers had hacked the server, but the claim is they were glossed over.
The source implies this wasn't just an accident, but maybe deliberate.
The implication is strong, yes. That critical evidence was potentially sidestepped.
I remember Matt Taibbi wrote about these documents. The article mentions he called it bizarre, like a Keystone Cops episode of officials avoiding review.
That's the description the source uses, yes.
Yeah.
A vivid picture of alleged avoidance.
And Taibbi also noted something else described as eyebrow-raising gossip in the document. What was that? It sounded like it pointed to a direct leak or improper contact.
Yes. The article highlights Taibbi reporting this snippet from the document, that the political director of the Hillary Clinton staff, Amanda Renteria, regularly receives information from Loretta Lynch of the Department of Justice on the plans and intentions of the FBI.
Wait, the Clinton campaign's political director was allegedly getting inside info from the Attorney General about the FBI's investigation plans.
That's the provocative claim highlighted. It suggests a direct, and the article implies improper back channel between the campaign and the highest level of the DOJ regarding an active federal probe into their candidate.
If true, that's a massive breach, isn't it? Potentially obstruction or serious political influence.
It would certainly raise those kinds of serious questions. It points to a potential breakdown of the firewall that's supposed to exist between political campaigns and federal law enforcement, especially during active investigations.
This paints a really troubling picture, according to the source. Multiple alleged efforts to steer investigations, fabricate one, suppress another. It makes you wonder, then, how did the Russian collusion narrative, which the source insists was fabricated, get so amplified? How did it take root so strongly, especially after the election?
The story continues, according to the source, with how this alleged hoax gained major traction, and the focus shifts to the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, the ICA.
The big report ordered by Obama summarizing intel findings on Russian interference.
That's the one, a high-level consensus report from multiple agencies. Now, our source claims that Obama's ICA deliberately forced the knowingly false Steele dossier into that report.
Forced it in. Why would they do that?
The alleged reason was crucial. Doing so elevated it to credible status in the public and media's eyes.
Because it was now part of an official ICA.
Exactly. The source argues the Steele dossier was basically the only document that supported the Democrats' collusion delusion, so getting it into the ICA gave it a stamp of official legitimacy it wouldn't otherwise have had.
So, using the ICA's authority to legitimize what the article calls a false narrative.
That's the mechanism alleged by the source.
Who specifically does the source claim was responsible for this alleged maneuver? For forcing the dossier into the ICA?
The source is very direct here. It refers to Obama's lackeys.
Strong word? Who are they naming?
Then DNI, James Clapper, FBI Director James Comey, and CIA Director John Brennan.
The heads of the major intelligence and investigative agencies.
Yes. The article uses really strong language, calling them a three-headed monster, who allegedly forced the inclusion of this piece of biased trash campaign opposition research into the ICA.
That phrasing definitely shows the author's viewpoint.
It's very critical, and the alleged aftermath. Once the dossier had this elevated status via the ICA,
Then what?
the source claims it was then leaked it to the media to damage the Trump administration.
So a multi-step process alleged. Force it into the official report, then leak it to weaponize it politically.
That's the alleged strategy laid out.
Yeah.
Institutionalize the narrative, then disseminate it through media leaks for political impact.
Given all these serious allegations, what does the source say about accountability? Are specific individuals facing consequences or accusations?
The article is quite pointed on accountability. It mentions that James Clapper has reportedly lawyered up.
Seeking legal counsel.
All right, often seen as bracing for legal trouble, but the really direct accusation is against John Brennan.
The former CIA director. What's the accusation?
The article accuses him of likely perjury.
Perjury. Based on what?
Based on his May 2017 testimony to Congress. The source quotes Brennan saying the Steele dossier wasn't part of the corpus of intelligence information that we had. It was not in any way used as a basis for the intelligence community assessment that was done.
But the source claims the Durham Annex shows it was forced into the ICA.
Exactly. So the source argues Brennan's testimony directly contradicts the Annex's findings, potentially constituting perjury before Congress, which is, of course, a very serious crime.
A very serious allegation indeed. The source takes this whole web, the alleged plot, the inaction, the amplification, and labels it a seditious conspiracy. That's incredibly strong language.
Extremely strong. Legally charged terminology.
What does using that term imply here? And who else gets implicated beyond Clapper, Comey, and Brennan?
Using seditious conspiracy implies an alleged effort to undermine or overthrow the lawful functioning of the U.S. government or its processes, going far beyond normal politics. It speaks to the perceived gravity of the alleged actions.
And who else is caught in this net, according to the source?
Well, as mentioned, Hillary Clinton is implicated as allegedly signing off on the initial plan. And the article explicitly states that Obama has already been referred to the DOJ for potential prosecution.
Obama referred for prosecution? Based on what?
The article doesn't detail the specifics of that referral, just states it as a fact. So the scope of alleged involvement presented by the source is incredibly broad, reaching the very highest levels of politics and intelligence. It paints a picture of a widespread, damaging scheme.
And the source doesn't let the media off the hook either, does it?
Not at all. It's quite scathing about the media's role.
What's the argument there?
The article asserts the media is just as culpable. The reasoning is blunt. Without them, this operation dies quickly.
So the argument is the alleged plot needed media amplification to succeed.
Precisely. It raises tough questions about media responsibility, about vetting sources, especially for politically charged narratives that might originate from, well, dubious places. The source suggests the alleged plan relied on the media to spread the narrative and shape public opinion.
And the article ends with a call to action.
A very direct one. It says, we should demand more documents, but for now we have enough to charge people. It's time to exact justice.
So it's not just analysis, it's a demand for legal consequences based on these Annex revelations.
Yes, it moves firmly from reporting alleged findings to calling for specific actions and accountability.
This whole deep dive, then, it's really not just about revisiting past events. It touches on fundamental issues. Political influence, how information flows, how narratives are built, and ultimately, accountability. Looking at everything the source claims the Annex reveals, what's the biggest takeaway for you, the core theme?
I think the biggest takeaway is the alleged weaponization of information itself. How a story, allegedly fabricated for political reasons, could supposedly be injected into this system.
Right.
Get picked up by intelligence agencies, potentially ignored or amplified based on alleged biases, legitimized through official reports, and then spread widely by the media to achieve political goals.
Is it the whole alleged life cycle of a manufactured narrative?
Exactly. The complexity is stunning. The alleged campaign plot, the reported awareness by top officials, the alleged failure to investigate by the FBI, the alleged manipulation of the ICA, the role of leaks in media. It all intertwines.
Creating this intricate picture of political maneuvering, maybe intelligence failures or complicity, and information warfare.
Yes. It really forces you to think hard about how we evaluate information, especially political charged information. Where does it come from? Who benefits? And how much manipulation might be happening, even at the highest levels.
It really raises questions about the resilience of our institutions and our whole information ecosystem against these kinds of alleged tactics.
And how we as citizens can possibly sort through it all. How do you tell real reporting from a narrative pushed for political ends? It's a huge challenge.
So for you, the listener, navigating today's, let's face it, incredibly complex and often polarized information world, what does this all mean?
Well, I think
this deep dive into the Durham Annex, based on our source, serves as a stark reminder, doesn't it, about how crucial it is to scrutinize information, especially the really charged stuff that shapes big political debates.
it absolutely does. It highlights this alleged web of interests and actors that can be involved in shaping what the public believes, and how a story can catch fire, even if its origins are, as the source claims here, completely fabricated.
We've walked through these serious allegations. A deliberate campaign plot, top officials knowing about it, the CIA apparently finding the intel credible, the FBI allegedly not investigating it, the alleged manipulation of the Steele dossier into the ICA, the leaks. It really compels us to be critical consumers of information, doesn't it? To question sources, to wonder about motives, to be aware of the potential for manipulation at every level.
It's a powerful reminder that information is power, and it can be used or allegedly misused in profound ways. Understanding where it comes from, its journey, its potential biases, that's maybe more important than ever to stay truly informed.
So let's leave you with a final provocative thought to chew on. Given these insights and serious allegations stemming from the Durham Annex, as reported by our source, what kind of measures do you think are most needed to prevent future attempts, alleged attempts, at politically motivated information campaigns, misleading the public, and potentially damaging democratic processes?
That's a huge question. How do you safeguard against this kind of alleged manipulation?
And maybe just as important, how can we, as individual citizens, get better equipped? How can we sharpen our own tools to tell truth from fabrication when information moves so fast and its sources can be so deliberately muddied?
Lots to think about there. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep digging, keep asking questions, and keep yourself well informed.